Hello and welcome to God's Hand Link. Decode Occult Science. Northern Vietnam has faced a severe flood crisis from July into August 2025, driven by intense and prolonged heavy rainfall characteristic of the tropical storm season. As of the 4th of August, the situation remains critical, particularly in the mountainous provinces of Dien Bien, Son La, and Nghe An. Across these provinces, the floods have tragically resulted in at least 19 confirmed deaths, comprising 10-inch Dien Bien, 5-inch Son La, and 4-inch Nghe An. The deluge has led to significant displacement, with hundreds of households urgently evacuated. For example, 231 households were affected in Dien Bien, and nearly 7,500 houses collapsed in Nghe An, indicating widespread displacement. Infrastructure has sustained extensive damage, including 554 homes damaged in Dien Bien, nearly 7,500 houses collapsed in Nghe An, and over 200 hectares of crops submerged in Dien Bien. Key transportation routes have been paralyzed by over 450 points of subsidence in Dien Bien, numerous landslides, and 16 traffic bridges washed away or damaged in Nghe An, leading to isolated communities and widespread disruptions to electricity and telecommunication services. This is more than just a cold weather report. This is one of the disasters on God's doomsday. So, today let's pray for Prayer Vietnam Floods, 2025. Praying for the good people affected by floods in Vietnam to overcome their destiny situation. The following are details about Vietnam floods, 2025, presented in 5 parts. First, evolution. Second, effects. Third, causes. Fourth, solution. And fifth, manual. The last 2 parts will guide you on how to click the pray button on the godshand.link website. If you pray sincerely, you will be able to open God's gate to successfully connect with God and receive God's beatitude to successfully help the people you are praying for. Now, let's take a look at the evolution of flooding in Vietnam. Evolution. The crisis began in Son La province with a 2-wave flood event. The first, from the 21st to 27th of July, was triggered by heavy rainfall from a tropical convergence zone and a tropical storm, triggering flash floods and landslides. A second, more severe deluge from the 31st of July to the 1st of August, driven by surging river levels and water discharges from upstream hydropower plants, caused widespread flooding in 12 riverside communes. The combined disasters tragically resulted in 5 deaths, 1 missing person, and 4 injuries. In terms of infrastructure, 5 houses were swept away, and 14 villages were isolated as national and provincial highways were submerged, and 8 suspension bridges were destroyed, paralyzing the transportation network. The disaster then escalated in Dien Bien province, where torrential rains from the 31st of July to the 1st of August triggered devastating flash floods and landslides. The human toll was severe, with the death toll rising to at least 10 people and 7 others injured. The floods caused extensive property damage, with 319 houses destroyed or severely damaged, and over 200 hectares of crops submerged. The flooding isolated many communities as more than 450 points of ground subsidence paralyzed key roads, cutting off access. In response, the Vietnamese government deployed rescue teams, including helicopters, to provide relief to isolated villages. Concurrently, Nghe An province in north-central Vietnam faced its own severe flood event. Intense rainfall in late July, linked to the circulation of Typhoon Wifa, resulted in at least 4 confirmed deaths and 4 injuries. The economic toll was particularly high, with preliminary damage estimates exceeding 3.5 trillion Vietnam dong, $133.5 million. The damage to infrastructure was catastrophic, with nearly 7,500 houses collapsed or damaged, 40 schools destroyed, and 16 bridges washed away, further isolating many communities. Effects. Overall effects across northern Vietnam, late July to the 4th of August, 2025. Human impact. Fatalities and injuries. As of the 4th of August, 2025, the total confirmed death toll has reached at least 19 people across the most affected provinces. This includes 10 lives lost in Dien Bien province due to flash floods and landslides, 5 deaths and 1 person missing in Son La province, and 4 confirmed deaths in Nghe An province. Additionally, there have been several injuries reported in each of these regions. Displacement and affected population. Hundreds of households across the affected provinces have been urgently evacuated. In Son La alone, dozens of families were forced to evacuate, and in Nghe An, nearly 1,200 households were evacuated or moved to higher ground by the 23rd of July. Livelihoods. Thousands of hectares of crops, including rice fields, have been submerged or destroyed. For example, Son La lost over 180 hectares of crops and 2,600 cattle and poultry. Infrastructure damage. Housing. Thousands of homes have been damaged or completely swept away. In Dien Bien, 554 homes were damaged, and 319 houses collapsed. Nghe An saw nearly 7,500 houses collapse or become deeply flooded. Transportation. Roads, including national highways and provincial roads, have been severely affected by landslides and erosion, leading to traffic paralysis and isolation of many areas. In Dien Bien, over 450 points of subsidence paralyzed key roads. Son La experienced National Highway 12 being submerged and 14 villages isolated, with 8 suspension bridges swept away in Muang Lum commune. Nghe An reported 16 traffic bridges washed away or damaged, 14 landslides on national provincial highways, and over 52 km of local roads eroded. Utilities and public services. Power grids and telecommunication networks were interrupted in many affected areas, particularly in Dien Bien. Many irrigation works, schools, and office buildings were also damaged and flooded. Economic impact. Preliminary estimates indicate significant economic losses. Dien Bien province alone faced around 500 billion Vietnam dong, approximately $19.23 million, in damage, while Nghe An's initial damage was estimated at 3.5 trillion Vietnam dong, approximately $133.5 million. The situation highlights the increasing unpredictability of extreme weather events in Vietnam, with continuous forecasts of more heavy rain and potential tropical storms in August, posing ongoing risks of flash floods and landslides in mountainous and low-lying areas. Causes. Tropical Storm Wipha, Typhoon Number 3. This storm made landfall in late July 2025, bringing strong winds and torrential rains. The report notes that Wipha brought up to 500 mm of rainfall, which could cause dangerous flooding and landslides. Prolonged and heavy rainfall. In addition to the storm, several provinces, including Dien Bien and Son La, experienced intense, prolonged heavy rainfall from late July to early August. Some areas recorded nearly 300 mm of rainfall in just 6 hours, triggering severe flash floods and landslides. Discharges from hydropower plants. In Son La province, rising water levels in the Mon River were exacerbated by water discharges from Muang Luan 1, Muang Luan 2, and Song Ma 3 hydropower plants, contributing to further flooding and landslides in riverside communities. Climate change. Several articles note that experts believe human-driven climate change is causing more intense and unpredictable weather patterns, making destructive floods more likely. Above is a detailed summary of the causes behind flooding in Vietnam 2025, as reported by news sources. But if the main cause is God's doomsday, what should we do? Solution. Solve by a reform prayer in Pray God's Will page at https://godshand.link/praygodswill, address, with a phrase search as Prayer Vietnam Floods, 2025. Praying for the good people affected by floods in Vietnam to overcome their destiny situation. and click Pray button. Here, you can also scroll up and click on this video to see details about God's supreme message. Follow God's doomsday to pray God's will. Manual. For more information about how to pray on the God's Hand Link website, please refer to Pray God's Will user manual page at https://godshand.link/Pray God's Will user manual address. By clicking the Pray button, you have contributed to helping the good people who are victims of this catastrophic flood. Your small acts of kindness are like seeds that can grow into a forest of compassion and love. Helping others is not only about material support, but also about spiritual support. Because the material originates from intention, a prayerful intention of yours will bring about the transformation of the material world according to God's will. Thank you for helping. God's Hand Link. Thanks for helping. To decode occult science,